Chapter 11. Farewell, you are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The sound of the harmonica was extremely beautiful. The sound harmonica seemed to be exceeding any conventional music when it mixed with the unexplainable beat, much like Qing Chen's nightmare last night. Qing Chen couldn't contain his amazement and shock as all of the inmates were engrossed in the magnificent music. He was familiar with this song, Farewell. The lyrics were written by Master Hong Yi, whose real name also happened to be Li Shutong, and the melody is based on the song from Dreaming of Home and Mother. The author makes clever and satirical use of names here. This song is well known throughout China. Outside the lengthy corridor, along the ancient road, the green grass seemed to connect with the sky. 2 lyrics translated by China.org.cn. Qing Chen's pupils gradually shrank as the song went on. Didn't I get transmigrated? How come the song, Farewell, is still known here? He had previously assumed that this mechanical universe had nothing to do with the planet from which he had originated. Now that it appears he was mistaken. Perhaps this is the Earth's future. Qing Chen began to sift through the memories that were stored in his mind, attempting to recall every detail that he noted from the books that he read the day before. Much to his regret, these cheesy philosophical studies could not contribute to his understanding of this world in any way. As the harmonica faded away, and the noisiness of prison 18 returned, Qing Chen felt that this prison was more like a coliseum at one point. Sealed behind the metal doors were steel monsters with desires of all kinds. When the cell door opened, he was no longer as jerky and alert as he was on the first day. Instead, he strolled right past all of the other inmates and down to the open area. His illicit movements drew no attention from the drones from the ceiling or the robot guards on the first floor. As soon as he entered the cafeteria, Lin Xiaoxiao grinned and greeted him, "Good morning. Did you have a restful night of sleep?" There were dark circles under Qing Chen's eyes, and he glared at Lin Xiaoxiao coldly, as if to say, "Shouldn't you know the best why I didn't sleep well last night?" Some say that a dream tends to only last for 8 minutes, relatively short in comparison to one's lifetime. However, after Qing Chen ended his nightmare yesterday, he checked his return countdown on his arm, and to his surprise, he had been locked in the nightmare for more than 2 hours, even though it only felt like a few minutes. He didn't fall asleep immediately after waking up from his nightmare. In fact, he didn't sleep until late into the night, spending his time sorting through all the recollections from the day. Although Qing Chen had the ability to remember everything he experienced, he was still an ordinary person. In no way could he be compared to a person like Lin Xiaoxiao, who could still be so energetic after creating a whole nightmare for him last night. Li Shutong glanced at Qing Chen's face and said, "Ordinary people will be badly injured spiritually when they come out of these nightmares. You are quite special. Not only did you break free from Xiaoxiao's control, but you can also stand up this morning. It's very impressive already." Qing Chen sat down in front of Li Shutong and asked very bluntly, "Then how can I become a person like him?" "I enjoy how straightforward you are," Li Shutong said with a smile, "but you can't take his road. Instead, mine is better for you." Qing Chen could tell that Yuan and Lin Xiaoxiao's expressions had changed after he stated that. For some reason, he felt the mood shift to a more serious tone than before, and even the enormous cat who was snoozing looked up. He wanted to ask Li Shutong what his path was like. However, judging from Lu Guanyi's attitude towards Li Shutong, Qing Chen thought that this person might be famous even outside of the prison, so if he asked what the path was, the question might expose that he was not from this world. He was a transmigrator. Regular conversations wouldn't be a problem, but if he asked stupidly obvious questions, it would be a problem. Qing Chen ignored the warning signs and asked again, "How may I go your path?" "Don't get me wrong," Li Shutong smiled. When Li Shutong smiled, the wrinkles left by the passing of them at the corner of his eyes made Qing Chen realize that this man might be older than he thought. Li Shutong continued, "Because they were a bit late to meet me, Yuan and Lin Xiaoxiao couldn't go my path. In your case, although I admire your talents, it still isn't enough." Got it, Qing Chen nodded. This made more sense. He felt that if someone saw him and right away passed to him the person's life achievements, he would think that the person must be very problematic. He might not only be granted opportunities, but also dangers. But for Qin Chen, being able to touch the edge of this mysterious world was enough. It was something that he had never even dreamed about on Earth before. Now, he was coming closer and closer to this point. "Well, are we still going to play today?" asked Li Shuang as he looked at Qin Chen. "I think you are not in your best state today. How about taking a day of rest? You can't rush a game of chess. If I won because you are tired, it would be no fun at all." As the prisoners lined up to get their food, more and more people started to wander freely in the cafeteria. Today, however, was not the same as yesterday. As they ate, several of the prisoners paid close attention to what Qin Chen was doing. Some even stood at a convenient place with their plates in hand just so that they were able to observe the chessboard. There weren't people who knew how to play chess. To them, it was just an alternative way of entertainment that had become obsolete. But as long as Li Shuang liked it, everyone felt the need to pay attention. What if I too have the talent to be admired by Li Shuang? Of course, this was only wishful thinking. Most were watching because they had nothing else better to do. Li Shuang used to just be staring at an ending by himself in the past. No one dared to look it in the eyes. The atmosphere felt more comfortable now that Qin Chen had arrived, and Yiwan no longer stared at anyone who dared to approach. Next to them, even Lu Guanyi watched in excitement. Around him was his large group of followers. Lu Guanyi enjoyed this very much. Sitting across from Qin Chen, Li Shuang was waiting for a reply. Qin Chen stood up and said calmly, "There is no need for me to rest. This is the Imperial Court endgame. Rook on 2, move horizontally to 5, Rook on 5, advance 7, Cannon on 2, move horizontally to 8, Rook on 5, move horizontally to 6, Pawn on 4, advance 1. Chess was designed for two to play, but this time, Qin Chen simply called out every move that he would do all at once as if he could predict where Li Shuang would play. Qin Chen sacrificed his rook to attract the black king, and with the pawn advancing one step forward, it formed a firm net. This was a subtle trick that ordinary people could hardly think of. Others might not understand what Qin Chen was talking about, but Li Shuang did. There was only one way to break free from this endgame. Li Shuang raised his head and gave Qin Chen a sidelong glance. He flipped over the black king and said, "I thought you might need some rest, but I guess I was mistaken." In the crowd, Lu Guanyi's followers heard Lu Guanyi murmur, "He won again. That's got to be really cool, right? No matter how you win, as long as you can win against someone like Li Shuang, it will be worth all your life. I want to learn chess now as well." Those who just joined his group might be very confused about why Lu Guanyi suddenly gained interest in such a trivial game like chess. They knew that although Lu Guanyi's combat strength was outstanding in Prison 18, his wits were perhaps the poorest among his peers. At this time, Qin Chen looked at Li Shuang and asked, "May I ask you a question?" Chapter 12. Return. You are listening at novelfull.audio. When Yiwan heard this, he stood up and dispersed the crowd of people around them, allowing the two to talk in peace. "A reward for winning that endgame?" "Sure," said Li Shuang. "Are you the one who played the harmonica just now?" asked Qin Chen. The question caught both Yiwan and Lin Xiaoxiao by surprise. They thought that Qin Chen took advantage of the victory to ask a difficult question, but rather, Qin Chen chose to ask about music. The tune indeed sounded very nice, and it hadn't been heard outside, but why would Qin Chen squander such a valuable opportunity? Li Shuang raised his head with a smile and said, "It is me, what's wrong? Is it your first time hearing this song?" Qin Chen thought for a while and said, "It sounds very nice." "Yeah," Li Shuang nodded and replied. "The founder of our group made the music, and he even penned some lyrics that go along with it," he said after waiting for the crowd to disperse completely. Qin Chen was dumbfounded for a long time and couldn't speak. He wanted to say. Let me guess. The founder you're talking about is also from the earth. Also, this founder appears to be pretty brazen in claiming credit for other people's work. Hold up, how long has this organization been founded? When was the first transmigrator brought into this world? Qin Chen asked again, can you sing the full song for me? I want to hear it. Sure, Li Shutong said, but I don't know the lyrics to the complete version. Many years have passed, and things tend to get lost. It's alright, I'm just curious, said Qin Chen. He just wanted to confirm if the lyrics of this song were the same as the one he remembered from Earth. Li Shutong held the cat into his arms and sang quietly. Outside the long corridor, along the ancient road, the green grass seemed to connect with the sky. Under the gentle night breeze, swung the willows and resonated the melancholic melody from an old flute, whilst the descending sun illuminated mountains by the mountain. At the edge of the sky and the corner of the land, parting troubles many. As he finished, Li Shutong smiled and said, this last phrase is added on by people recently, but no matter how close it gets, it just doesn't sound perfectly to the point. After standing there for a while, Qin Chen suddenly suggested, how about changing to, the friends and hearts have gone their separate ways? The friends and hearts have gone their separate ways. Li Shutong repeated thoughtfully. For whatever reason, he always thought that the song's last phrase should be a short sentence. Farewell, farewell. The image of a loved one, fading away like the sunset, the true friends, all the way at the edge of the world. When we were young, we drank wine with no worries, and our lives were as strong as the summer heat. Not knowing that night was our last farewell, we never saw each other again. Li Shutong appeared to be sitting in this prison when he saw the orange-red sun setting over the horizon, his friend waving to him from afar. After the wave, he turned and left. "Oh, thank you," said Li Shutong, "this is perfect. This appears to be the original intent of the song." "You're welcome," Qin Chen accepted the compliment, knowing it wasn't directed to him. Li Shutong expressed his longing, saying, "Sometimes I am really surprised. Our founder is truly amazing, and it was said he wrote as many songs as an ox has hair. All was gone in the passage of this era, leaving only this one. Only one left. What a shame," said Qin Chen. Since Li Shutong directly mentioned the previous era, the transmigrator must have arrived a long, long time ago. An era was not a unit of time but the division of time. It marked the start and end of a significant civilization. It seems that the humans here have gone through the change from the previous era to this one. I'm curious what happened. There is one more song, but only the name was kept, not the lyrics itself. Many have tried to search the ancient ruins, but none succeeded. Li Shutong shook his head. What's the name of that song? Qin Chen questioned tentatively after a brief pause. Li Shutong glanced at him and said, "Canon." If Qin Chen had any lingering doubts whether this founder was a transmigrator, he could now rest assured. But canon was a musical genre and technique. Many symphonic works use the technical structure of canon, such as Beethoven's Symphony of Destiny, Symphony No. 5, and Bach's 5 canon variations. If the music came from the earth, then it should be referring to Pachelbel's canon in D major. From Li Shutong's respectful attitude toward the founder, Qin Chen wondered if he could give Li Shutong the canon in exchange for his extraordinary path. He wasn't sure. In fact, he couldn't even explain where he got the music from. He would have to wait as he never saw a canon score before, so he had to return to Earth first. At the end of the conversation, Qin Chen went straight past the crowd to the reading area. He was in desperate need of a good night's sleep, choosing to forego a meal in exchange for some extra sleep. Only with a conscious and alert mind could he maximize his brainpower to analyze the situations around him at any time. However, Lu Guanyi creepily approached him not long after he sat down on the table in the reading area. Lu Guanyi wanted to come over to talk to Qin Chen, but he was afraid of being seen by others with Qin Chen, so he stood outside the reading area, not knowing what he should do. Qin Chen looked up at the person and said blankly, "You don't have to pretend to be so careful. Li Shutong has some idea of what we're up to. But don't worry, he doesn't seem to mind much. Also, give me some alone time." There were surveillance cameras throughout the prison, even the novice prisoner ceremony had to be held in the cells. For the time being, he figured that sleeping in the reading area was the safest option. In fact, Qin Chen was eager to talk to Lu Guanyi to find out what the Qin family's mission for him was. But with the return date approaching, he didn't want anything else unexpected to happen. He first sent Lu Guanyi away and was planning to use the time back on the Earth to think about a plan to get information from Lu Guanyi. However, Lu Guanyi did not leave but whispered, "Boss, I have been thinking about it for a while now, but I just don't know what you call you. The best I have come up with is just boss. You probably heard about me from Qin Yan before that. I was raised in a poor family. My dad even sold my kidneys for some extra money and replaced them with a cheaper bionic one. Following that, I spent my days in complete despair, but I heard from Qin Yan that you appointed me to serve as a guide in the prison for you, and he said you found my talents to be useful. I was ecstatic. No need for concern, boss. I, Lu Guanyi, am willing to risk life and limb to help you complete your mission. But before I die, I still have a tiny regret. You know, I haven't been able to go to school for long, and I have always envied those educated people, even when I was young." Qin Chen could no longer take it. He interrupted, "Just tell me what you want. Could you please teach me how to play chess?" pleaded Lu Guanyi. Qin Chen was stunned. "Why do you want to learn chess?" "Because it's so cool," exclaimed Lu Guanyi. "Boss, even people like Li Shutong couldn't stand equal to you. How cool must that be?" "You think you can gain reputation by playing a couple games of chess," said Qin Chen, while shaking his head. "Of course, given that I can't beat him in a fight, beating him in a game of chess is the next best thing." Lu Guanyi said as if it was the only logical thing for him to do. This intrigued Qin Chen. Hearing this, it seems like Li Shutong's combat skills are quite good. Lu Guanyi went on, "I never expected that you would get acquainted with Li Shutong so soon after you came in, but now you two are getting along fine. With his position in prison 18, perhaps he might know where the item we're looking for is, and if you can learn a few things from him, you will have a much better chance of becoming a shadow." The amount of information in this sentence was tremendous, and Qin Chen finally realized what he was here to do: find an item. More significantly, he was in some kind of competition to obtain a position. He didn't know what he could learn from Li Shutong, but he would worry about that later. Qin Chen thought about it for a while and said, "Fine, I will teach you how to play chess, but for now, could you kindly leave me alone?" "Yes, of course." Lu Guanyi disappeared into the entertainment area moments later. Return countdown. 00.05.00 That night. Qin Chen sat peacefully on the ice-cold bed, his arm displaying a white countdown. He could feel the countdown's gears churning, and there were just 5 minutes remaining. He wasn't sure whether he would come back or not. The past 2 days were like a dream for him. He met several fascinating people and saw a different world. The unique personalities of Lin Xiaoxiao and Li Shutong made him eager to return to this world. This was a whole new universe that had opened up for him. Qin Chen thought about it for a while and used the pointy end of the toothbrush to carve "Been Here" on his wooden headboard. Then he pinched a blue-purple mark on his arm, curious as to what would happen if he returned to Earth injured. Return countdown. 10. The world fell apart once more, and the usual blackness reappeared. He had returned. Chapter 13. Someone. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Chen had calmed down a lot this time, compared to the terror he had the last time he transmigrated. He waited, as if in a dream, for the world to be ripped apart and reconstructed. In the cramped bedroom, Qin Chen was still seated on the side of the bed in the posture he was in before he transmigrated. Outside, it was still dark, and he was still holding the boning knife in his hand. Nothing seemed to have happened in a long time. Qin Chen grimaced and reached into his pocket for his phone. He took a look at the time. September 28, 2022, 12.00.01. 1 second after midnight. He distinctly remembered that he got transmigrated September 28, and the exact time was 12.00.00. To put it another way, he spent 2 days in that world, but only 1 second on Earth. So, logically it would also be the same when he went back to the other world. In some way, it had to be consistent. Qin Chen felt happy that he wouldn't have to explain what had occurred to him during the 2 days he had been missing. This was a very strange feeling of isolation, as if the world in which he was in now was no longer real. Qin Chen lowered his head and glanced at his arm. The blue purple mark was still there. The white timer on his other arm had altered as well. The time is 47.59.45. The time is 47.59.44. Another 48 hours, or 2 days, have passed. As a conclusion, there must exist a pattern. Only this subtle difference could prove to him that what had happened was real. He visited a mechanical civilization, met Li Shutong, Lin Xiaoxiao, and Lu Guangyi. He got tested by a nightmare and found a loyal dog that would lick his feet. A calm-tempered Yuan and a strange large cat were present. While Qin Chen was thinking about it, his cell phone rang. It was an unknown caller. "Hello," said Qin Chen. "Hello, I am here at Wang City Road Police Station. Your father has been detained for gambling. Please come over," said a female voice across the phone. Qin Chen was shocked. Thinking back, it should only have been a couple of hours since his father was caught, but he didn't think that the police station would contact him. Why do I have to be there?" asked Qin Chen. "According to the penalties for administration of public security, he will be detained and fined. You must come and file some paperwork," said the lady on duty at the police station. "Sorry, I can't make it, but please give him the maximum penalty. According to the penalties for administration of public security, severe violations shall be punished by detention for more than 10 days but no more than 15 days, and a fine of more than 500 yuan (1 about $78 but no more than 3,000 yuan (2 about $466). He deserves this," said Qin Chen while shaking his head. The lady on the other end of the phone was surprised. "Are you not his son?" Qin Chen replied, "I reported the case, and I am not his son. I am Mr. Qin, an honest and caring citizen." The lady on duty. Without waiting for a reply, Qin Chen hung up the phone. His dad, no, the illegal gambler would be detained for at least 10 days, which meant that he didn't need to see his dad before the next time he transmigrated. For some reason, Qin Chen felt a little happy and relieved. For a normal teenager, his father being detained and yelled at was not a pleasing experience. Most teenagers would see their father as a role model. Once they found their father to be not a hero-like figure as they thought, a fragile wall in their hearts would collapse. Qin Chen took a deep breath and slowly lay down on the bed. He turned on the phone to review his call records and WeChat but did not see any from his mother. For a moment, he wanted to go back to the prison. Even if it was an unknown and dangerous world. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning, and Qin Chen still had felt no urge to sleep. In his dark room, his phone screen illuminated his face as his only light source. On the screen was the score of Canon in D that he just found, and he was memorizing every little detail that he could see. This piece of music was Li Shudong's life wish, but for Qin Chen, it was a no-brainer. Maybe this was the beauty of the difference between the two worlds. There were things there that Qin Chen desperately wanted. But, how should he go about giving this to Li Shutong? If he did end up giving the score to him, how could he explain where he got it from? It was risky. Although Qin Chen wasn't afraid of taking risks, he didn't want to take pointless ones. Qin Chen must determine whether it would be worth it or not before giving him the score. In the end, he still didn't receive any message from his mom. The first day after the countdown, 7:30 a.m. Qin Chen put on a blue and white school uniform and went outside, eating instant noodles while walking. The Luo City Foreign Language School has divided into 3 campuses a few years ago, and the high school campus was only 5 minutes walk from his home. All he needed to do was to cross a small alley to arrive at his school. On his commute to school, Qin Chen could smell the scent of egg wraps wafting out from a breakfast stand. People along the walkway were eating tofu soup or spicy noodles. The freshly fried dough sticks were golden and crisp, and the tea eggs were smooth and shiny. To his dismay, Qin Chen remembered that he was broke. He spent his life savings to purchase the supplies in preparation for the countdown. Just thinking about this made his tooth hurt, but he didn't regret doing so. Better safe than sorry. In the classroom of second-year class 3, there was a classmate cleaning the classroom, and the room was filled with the moldy smell of mop, the kind that hinted to you that the mop hadn't been washed in a long time. Just as Qin Chen sat down in the back row, he saw his classmate Nan Gingchen hurry into the classroom with a nervous expression on his face. Ms. Du saw me skipping class yesterday. Did she say anything about it afterward? Asked Qin Chen in a low voice. However, Nan Gingchen was not paying attention to what he was asking. Huh? What? Nothing. Qin Chen shook his head. Why are you so agitated? Agitated? Nan Gingchen seemed to be confused. I don't think so. Qin Chen saw through this obvious lie. It was clear his deskmate was hiding something from him. But if Nan Gingchen did not want to talk about it, he wouldn't force it upon him. After quietly sitting next to each other for a while, Nan Gingchen suddenly asked in a very low voice, Qin Chen, how would you react if one day you encountered something extremely weird? Weird? Qin Chen froze there for a moment, then looked at Nan Gingchen. He hesitated and asked, what exactly do you mean by weird? I don't know what it is. It's just weird. Nan Gingchen said. I would probably call the police. Qin Chen's eyes were locked on Nan Gingchen. Nan Gingchen's eyes lit up. Yes, the police. Qin Chen, do you know anyone that I can talk to in the police station? Yeah, I do, said Qin Chen after thinking about it for a while. I reported my dad gambling last night and got him arrested. He's in the police station right now. Nan Gingchen. Chapter 14. When you are rich, don't forget about our friendship. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Nan Gingchen looked at Qin Chen and was confused and surprised at the same time. I need to talk with the cops, bro. What did your dad do to get arrested? Well then, said Qin Chen shaking his head, I can't do anything about it. So, what is this weird incident that you are so worried about? Nothing much. Nan Gingchen didn't continue after that. Qin Chen also stopped talking. The only option he had was to act as if he had no idea what was going on. However, he still could guess that this so-called weird thing, could it be that a countdown suddenly emerged on his arm? Because no one else can see the countdown, Qin Chen could only guess. For him, the countdown appeared on his arm at 6 p.m. last night. He didn't attend night classes or study sessions that day. He then transmigrated into another world for the first time at 12 o'clock midnight. If there is a countdown on Nan Gingchen's arm, when should it appear? Qin Chen thought to himself, Nan Gingchen is so weak and fragile. Will he be able to survive the harshness of the other world? He looks like he could be swept away by the wind right now. They've known each other for a long time and have many of the same characteristics. Their fathers were both gamblers, and their families were both poor. The two teenagers grew closer after finding out about this. Suddenly, a classmate who was playing on a phone in the class suddenly shouted, "Holy crap!" There was still some time left before class started, so there were only about 10 or so students in the classroom. Everyone's gaze was drawn to the boy after hearing his sudden exclamation. What's the matter? Someone asked. Quick, everyone. Take a look at the trending searches right now. Jacob held a press conference and he claimed to have transmigrated to a different world, one that was a mechanical civilization. There is a full video online. The classmate explained. Jacob, a well-known American basketball player, had a large international following. Everyone in the class looked at their phones and looked at the list of trending searches in bewilderment when they heard this. Only Qin Chen remained frozen in place because he knew exactly what was going on with the transmigration and technological civilization. He didn't expect that this event could occur to other people in other countries. Qin Chen looked over at Nan Gangchen, who already had the video pulled up. In it, Jacob was seated behind the table, facing a gathering of news reporters who were invited to attend. Camera shutters were flashing rapidly, making the scene a little chaotic. Anyone who is watching would first notice Jacob's left arm at first glance because his left arm had been completely replaced by a mechanical arm. In the video, Jacob got up and led the reporters to a basketball court. Then, across the entire court, he effortlessly tossed the basketball into a hoop and accurately repeated the motion 9 more times. Has this been edited? Nan Gingchen mumbled, it's not a commercial or anything. What's the point with all of these special effects? Qin Chen did not speak. The video was from abroad, and someone even added Chinese subtitles underneath. Last night, I accidentally found a countdown on my arm. Jacob said to the media, when the countdown stopped, I found myself in a weird mechanical civilization in a completely different universe. I can assure you that I am still on this planet. I can see the sun, the moon, and the starry night. It seems like a parallel universe, but the culture is vastly different from our own. Jacob raised his left arm and showed it to the audience. As soon as I got to the other world, this machine appeared on my arm, almost as if I was destined to take the position of someone who already existed there. I don't know how this thing works, but it works well. It has powers beyond my wildest imagination. It's both precise and flexible. However, I am not holding this conference to brag about this arm. I am here to say that the other world isn't as wonderful as it may appear to some of you. It is packed with danger. I am here to avoid being secretly taken away for research. I want to make it clear that I do not want to be a research subject, and if I ever vanish, please. Hearing what Jacob had to say, Qin Chen realized that Jacob is a public figure, so he couldn't hide the fact that he got a random mechanical arm from somewhere. Jacob clearly understood that the technology of the other world was well above the current civilization on Earth, therefore he selected a more drastic technique to avoid being taken away to be tested like a guinea pig. But this might not be the best method. Perhaps he was very nervous about what might happen to him, so he made a rash decision. Turning around, Qin Chen saw that his deskmate Nan Gingchen was as dumbfounded as a chicken. Qin Chen remembered that he wasn't able to bring a knife nor a toothbrush from the other side back when he returned, so he reasoned that the only way to carry something was to transform oneself or to hide within one's body. He was also wondering where in the other world might Jacob have appeared. Would he be on the other side of the ocean? The rest of the students, who also saw the video, were also in a daze. They were debating whether this video was real or if it was just some special effects production. However, before anyone could figure out what was going on, more strange instances appeared on the list of trending searches. Internet software company executive was discovered dead at his home. On his body, a highly sophisticated mechanical structure was discovered, similar to Jacob's. College student claims to have visited a parallel universe. Not only are there mechanical civilizations but also humans with mind-blowing powers. High school student gains awakening ability from another world. Qin Chen frowned as he watched the quickly appearing searches. He had underestimated the speed with which the story traveled. It's possible that not everyone was as discreet as he was. As the word spread, it became clear that this was neither special effects nor a commercial for a specific brand. It was real. Real people were taken to a mysterious world of fantasy. Furthermore, a large number of persons were transmigrated. Nan Gingchen next to him murmured, the extraordinary, one, people from the other world who gained extreme powers, mechanical civilization. Does anyone who transmigrates there have a chance to become the extraordinary? It seems like the probability of being transmigrated is not small. Might there be one from our school? Maybe someone came to school with a mechanical limb. I want to transmigrate too. As more and more students arrived, the people in the class would cast a curious glance at the people walking in to check if there was a transmigrator among them. There were teenagers of 17 or 18 years old, full of curiosity and desire for exploration. Some adults would ponder if the new opportunities would be worth it for the dangers, but as teens, they didn't care. All they had was excitement. When you watch Harry Potter, you'd expect that you can go through the wall in King's Station, and when you read cultivation novels, you expect to meet a mysterious old teacher who will teach you how to cultivate. Such thoughts, however, would be deemed mindless daydreaming in the real world. So, when everyone found out that they could now have a chance to be transmigrated and become the extraordinary, they automatically disregarded the warnings about potential dangers, only hoping that they could be among one of the transmigrators to explore the other world. Being a protagonist of the other world also sounded very tempting. Qin Chen was tempted as well. The only difference was that Qin Chen was one of the fortunate few who had the opportunity to travel to another world and meet extraordinaries such as Lin Xiaoxiao and Li Shuthong. Yi Wan should be one too. Qin Chen noticed that Nan Gingchen's scared demeanor gradually vanished and was replaced with excitement. Qin Chen asked, "Is this the weird thing that you are talking about?" Nan Gingchen lowered his voice to a whisper, "I can't tell you just yet, but don't worry. If I get anything good, I won't forget about you, my friend." Qin Chen nodded, "Yes. When we get rich, don't forget about our friendship." Chapter 15. Covered under dark clouds. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At first, Qin Chen was still planning to make a conversation. He hadn't expected Nan Gingchen's mood to take a full 180-degree turn. Just then he was scared out of his mind, and now he was already planning to be the protagonist of the new world. What else could Qin Chen say? "I guess, as long as you are happy." Nan Gingchen started to discuss with Qin Chen in a serious manner, what if, and I'm just speculating here, I'm lucky enough to transmigrate there and bring back some high-tech goods. Do you believe they'll sell for a lot of money? "I don't know," said Qin Chen, "you might not even be able to bring much back." "What? Look, they even have brought back robotic arms or something," he remarked. "Don't worry, when I grow rich, I'll treat you to a fancy lunch." Qin Chen was well aware of the dangers of the other world. He wanted to keep it a secret, but as Nan Gingchen was his friend, he also wanted him to return safely, so he said, "You see, there could be dangers for the transmigrators. I believe it is ideal if you exercise caution." Nan Gingchen was silent for a few seconds and then asked, "Where do you want to eat when the time comes?" Qin Chen. Nan Gingchen was already daydreaming about his life of luxury, oblivious to the fact that one could not just bring things back from the other world. Just thinking about it was enough to make Qin Chen want to chuckle. Gingchen enters a restaurant and removes a mechanical arm, slamming it on the table while ordering 2 bowls of noodle. That would be an interesting scene to witness. Suddenly, someone in the class wondered out loud, what decides if someone gets to go to the other world or not? So many have already transmigrated, but why haven't I seen anything here yet? Nan Gingchen whispered in reply, "Maybe only true talents and geniuses can." Qin Chen raised his eyebrows as he listened. More and more news about transmigrators started piling up, both locally and globally. Slowly, Qin Chen concluded 2 things. The first. All transmigrators saw a 6-hour countdown before they left and a 48-hour return countdown while there. To put it another way, everyone was transmigrated at the same moment and returned at the same time. Additionally, around midnight, someone claimed that he hadn't transmigrated but had seen a 48-hour countdown on his arm. This should be the second group. Next time, the first group and the second group would be transmigrated together. The second pattern he noticed was that everyone who was transmigrated fit into the category of younger people aged between 10 and 35 years old. Suddenly, a girl said, "Hey, someone is live streaming her mechanical arm on a broadcast. Take a look. I'll send the link to the class group chat." These days, everyone has a phone, and everyone in their class was in a chat together. The classmates all clicked into it and found that the person was in fact showing off a mechanical arm. But Qing Chen felt something was off, because this was the first time he had seen such a plastic dot-like arm. As a result, the person didn't even last beyond 2 minutes before the arm fell onto the floor with a loud clang. What kind of crap is this? Such clickbait. Qing Chen wanted to burst into tears laughing. He should have known that there would be people wanting to take advantage of this sudden trend. Knew that he was thinking, he guessed that Nangengchen was not the first group that got transmigrated at midnight, or else, he wouldn't have been so scared. There were two possibilities. 1. The number of individuals who could be transmigrated at once was limited, and a new person could only be added after an existing one died, or the other possibility, which was that the number of transmigrations was unlimited. This would mean that the number of people that could transmigrate was constantly expanding and more would be added in the future. As for now, no one knew how many transmigrators there actually were. Gradually, all the classmates arrived in class, and someone exclaimed, "There are also people here in Luo City. I saw one in my WeChat Moments." One WeChat Moments is somewhat similar to Instagram Stories, where the user can post a photo collection and a caption for friends to see, but the message is only limited to people in one's WeChat contacts. Upon hearing this, all the students gathered around him. In the video from the WeChat Moments, a teenager looked stressed. There were strange mechanical lines, they appeared to be made with such care that they seemed exceptionally lovely. The teen's gray steel ankle was visible as he walked, which was spotted by someone. Both of his legs had to have been replaced with mechanical limbs. The person taking the video wanted to get a closer shot, but the young boy already jumped onto the roof and disappeared into the sea of houses. A girl in the class exclaimed, "So handsome. I so wish that someone from our class can transmigrate so we can ask about the other world ourselves." The girl's words reminded Qing Chen that there was indeed a person who got transmigrated from this school. It was Yongli Corporation CEO's son, Huang Qixian. He remembered that the person should be in first year class 7. Qing Chen never saw Huang Qixian again after the guards took him away. Huang Qixian had to have returned, even if he was dead. With 10 more minutes before class would start, Qing Chen walked out of the classroom and went downstairs to the first-year classrooms. It seemed like there was a celebration in Luo City Foreign Language School. Everyone, including the teachers, was discussing the news. You could bet that none of them knew that a transmigrator was beside them right now. Qing Chen looked at those people and suddenly felt a sense of isolation. He felt that he was no longer the same as everyone else. In the past, he might have focused on his studies. He spent all his time reviewing, studying, and preparing for tests. But now, his path didn't seem to belong to anyone. When Qing Chen arrived in class 7, he approached a boy wearing glasses and asked, "Hello, is Huang Qixian here today?" "No, I haven't seen him yet," replied the student. "Okay," Qing Chen nodded, "do you know where he lives?" I know that he lives in Yinrun Garden, but I'm not sure exactly where he is." "Do you need him for anything?" asked the student. "When he gets here, I can relay your message to him." "I don't have anything specific, thank you." Qing Chen then thought, Huang Qixian might not be able to come today. The boy could be so traumatized that he had gone crazy. Qing Chen returned to the class deep in thought. The first class was math class, but no one was in the mood for a lesson. In the second half of class, Tian Hailong, noticing that none of the students were paying attention, decided to joke around with the students. "Seems like no one wants to learn math now. I must get one of those mechanical arms if I want to get your attention, don't I?" BDNV in the classroom, this elicited a lot of laughs. Tian Hailong then stopped lecturing and began conversing with the class about current events. If it was just any news, teachers and students might not have to be like this, but now it was something different. During the entire class, Nan Gingchen had been on his phone the entire time. During break, he suddenly handed his phone to Qing Chen and said, "Look, he xiao xiao, 3, pronounced like hello but only keeping the first syllable, just uploaded a new video." "He xiao xiao?" asked Qing Chen, puzzled. "He's a well-known up master too, similar to a YouTuber but for any type of content site. It is short for upload master, which just means someone who uploads content liked by the majority. He is regarded as an expert in the gaming world. In his videos, he searches for hidden surprises and details such as a hidden plot, legendary weaponry, secret abilities, and more. He has a ton of friends." Qing Chen was a studious person, so Nan Gingchen knew that he most likely wouldn't be familiar with a up master like he xiao xiao, so he decided to explain everything. Nan Gingchen continued, "A few hours ago, he released a gameplay strategy talk, but no one ever heard about the game he was talking about this time, but he still made it sound so real. Now with the transmigration things, people realize that this video is about strategies for the new world. He must be one of the transmigrators too. The video has nothing but a black background and white subtitles. Because this game is rather unique, I can't show you the actual footage of the game," a youthful and husky male voice remarked in the video. "I call this game the inner world. The world we are in right now is called the outer world. I have just recently entered this game, therefore the knowledge available to me is rather restricted," he xiao xiao continued quietly. "For the time being, there are no legendary weapons that I know of nor ways to obtain them. Currently, there are 3 known career paths. The first is to use technology to transform oneself. This can be purchased directly at the mechanical hospital. The price of mechanical limbs is relatively expensive, and I have not yet found any glitches that can get you a ton of money instantly. In general, selling organs seems to be the best way to obtain cash, but I don't recommend anyone trying it out. The second option is to join the Taboo Tribunal and receive a genetic injection. One can be reborn with new powers. However, I haven't yet found the NPC for this organization, so it is still a mystery. Prison 18 is the third and final recognized career path. You must locate an NPC named Li Shutong. This is currently the most promising career route with the most potential. If there are other career paths that I know of in the future, I will share with you at once." As the video ended, Qing Chen felt his life was cheated upon. He was sure that it was a real world, and he could even bring back his wounds. But now, this man called He Xiao Xiao just made this whole world sound like fantasy and grinding it like a game. He even called Li Shutong an NPC so that one could obtain career paths. He didn't know what He Xiao Xiao's identity was in the inner world, but Qing Chen could confirm that Li Shutong must be famous in the inner world. So famous that He Xiao Xiao could hear the name within 48 hours of entering. And now, He Xiao Xiao told the world that Li Shutong was the most promising career path. Nan Gingchen to his side muttered after watching the video, "Why do I feel like I got clickbait again? You need the fortune to purchase mechanical limbs, and the Taboo Tribunal couldn't even be found. Even if someone was able to find Prison 18, it's a prison, after all, we can't just go in and take a tour." Suddenly, Qing Chen thought that the influence of this video was quite big. Perhaps when he transmigrates back to Prison 18 in 7 days, there would be people rushing in trying to find Li Shutong. However, if someone tries to treat Li Shutong as an NPC, he or she would not have a happy ending. At the very least, he would be very confused. The hype for the other world lasted well into the afternoon. All of this changed when news broke that a young guy from another country, who had been identified as a transmigrator, had been discovered dead at his house. His mechanized limbs vanished. The news hit the world like a bolt of lightning, and everyone's mood was cast into a dark cloud. Chapter 16. A person only has one life. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. In day life, being extraordinary was a very romantic idea. It was even more of a fairy tale for adults. Even if you did not receive admission from Hogwarts when you were a boy, it seems you could still live out your fantasy in this so-called inner world. However, this horrific news rained down like a bucket of cold water, putting a damper on many people's enthusiasm. Only now did people start to realize the cruel gravity of the situation. The brutality of human nature persisted, even in a different world. The potential of huge amounts of money to be gained from selling this futuristic money was sure to drive someone insane. Not to mention that even a small piece of this treasure might be worth a fortune. Since it was the most trending and rare item on the market right now. Instead of searching for an extraterrestrial species to discover new technologies, why not just rob the guy next to you who already has them? The people who were transmigrated were still regular people at the end of the day. Ordinary humans would still be no match when confronted with the true nature of an armed force. The man who died was violently murdered in his own home. The murderer stabbed him in the chest with a dagger. It was ironic to think that a mechanical limb was taken because of a dagger, which had no technical value in comparison. This was no longer a fairy tale, but more like a sarcastic fairy tale set in the real world. Immediately, the transmigrators who revealed their identity because of the trend started scrambling in fear. Some who returned with mechanical limbs worried that they would also be attacked. Those who did not have anything on them were wondering if others would be seeking something else from them. At that moment, a Japanese media agency published an opinion guessing that one can obtain the qualification to transmigrate by killing an existing one. What a crazy guess! Whether or not this theory was true or false, it would still create infinite distrust among people. Nan Gingchen, who was enthusiastic just a moment ago, had stopped asking Qing Chen where to go to eat. He heard Nan Gingchen muttering softly, "I finally get a chance to change my life, now, it's just become a shit show of horror, typical." Nan Gingchen and Qing Chen were two boys on the same boat. Both of their dads were addicted gamblers, putting their families in terrible conditions. Compared to Qing Chen, Nan Gingchen's family was relatively better. At least Nan Gingchen still has what can be considered a family, and both of his parents and himself were all living under the same roof. It was just that his family was always out of money. Qing Chen seemed even more miserable. He had nothing. When the classmates get together on weekdays, they would purposefully not invite them to join. After all, these two couldn't even pay for a round of billiards. Nan Gingchen had a girl he liked, but since he didn't have any pocket money, he always felt too embarrassed to approach her. As a result, the two boys in this room were desperate for cash. Nan Gingchen wanted to make money by submitting novels he wrote to magazine agencies a few years ago, but his hopes were dashed. Seeing Nan Gingchen was discouraged, Qing Chen felt that it might be a good thing. The facts are here in front of your eyes, so I say if, and just if, you end up transmigrating to the other world, please be extra careful and do not make a big fuss about it when you return. Yes, yes. I understand. Why does it have to be us who are so poor? Nan Gingchen lamented. Qing Chen thought for a while and said, well, others' dads are working hard while your dad is playing cards. Although Nan Gingchen didn't like his dad, it still made him feel a little uncomfortable to hear his dad being described as such. He was not convinced and said, then what about your dad? Ah, my dad, he is playing cards as if his life depends on it. Nan Gingchen. The two of them stayed there in silence for a moment. Nan Gingchen then asked, by the way, how did your dad get arrested? I reported him for gambling. I hope he knows now that what he was doing was wrong, replied Qing Chen calmly. Nan Gingchen was surprised at first, but then he said, hey, would you mind reporting my dad as well? Qing Chen. At this time, the bell rang for the next class. The second class in the morning was English, but the geography teacher came in. The name of their school, Luo City Foreign Language School, had the words foreign language in it, so a strong emphasis of the curriculum was placed on foreign language classes. Therefore, the English teachers in the school had relatively more privileges compared to teachers of other subjects. Almost every English teacher in the school was the best available in the city, and there were even native English tutors hired by the school. Since middle school, these tutors would give group lessons every week. Additionally, the school even offers several alternative languages like Japanese and German to students who did not choose English. The middle-aged geography teacher 3rd Chin Yandong started speaking on the podium. Your homeroom teacher Ms. Du is not here today, so the second class will temporarily be changed to geography class. You will have English for the third class tomorrow morning. Qin Chen was stunned when he heard this. From so much that had happened today, he doubted that this would be as simple as a coincidence. Might Dui Hong also be a transmigrator? There were so many transmigrators in Luo City that he knew of, then how many must there be in the county, or in the world? No, that can't be right. Qin Chen lowered his head to not let others see his eyes, but in an instant, his pupils narrowed. Everything that happened today flashed through his mind like a movie. He analyzed and sorted through all the images and scenes he saw and heard. The second group of transmigrators who just had a countdown appearing on their arms. The girl who just found out that she was about to transmigrate was being interviewed accompanied by her parents. The transmigration uploader who was sponsored by a large brand. News after news were like leaves pouring down from the sky, and Qin Chen was only picking out the useful bits of information that he wanted to learn. The next moment Qin Chen raised his head in astonishment. He plotted in his mind all the transmigration in the news, and most were clustered in around 10 or so cities. There was even a discussion thread about some people complaining that they haven't found any in their cities. In other words, the locations of the transmigrators were fairly concentrated. In just around 10 cities. The amount of analysis made Qin Chen feel a little lightheaded. Around 5:40 in the afternoon, Qin Chen skipped class again. Before leaving, the study class representative shouted to him, "Qin Chen, don't forget that the textbook fees are due tomorrow." "Got it," said Qin Chen, waving goodbye. Then, he quickly left the classroom while being stared at by many envious pairs of eyes. Under the setting sun, the students who had just finished their classes rushed to the cafeteria to get food and prepare for the self-study class that night. Qin Chen zipped through the crowd and stepped out of the school on an unnoticeable corner. He first went home, took off his school uniform, and changed into an old set of clothes. He hadn't worn this set of clothes in a long time. Before heading out again, he also grabbed a cap and put it on his head. He searched on his phone for Inrun Garden that the boy told him this morning and found that it was about 6 kilometers, around 3.7 miles away from the school. That was where Huang Qixin lives. For some inexplicable reason, he felt compelled to investigate what was going on with his classmate. Despite the fact that he had no idea which unit the boy resided in, he still wanted to try his luck. Qin Chen had no other cash than the 50 cents $20.08 USD in his pocket. This would be all he had until the next time he played chess at the Fulai supermarket. "I'll just run." Qin Chen wasn't very used to exercising. The most he would do would be the routine running during gym class. But now he suddenly realized the importance of exercising. He must have a sturdy body to face the dangers of the other world. One must know. The Chinese language has never produced a homophone for the term life. Perhaps the character represents the concept of having only one life. It must be treasured. Chapter 17. Being tracked. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The autumn wind gently blew by the downtown bridge as the sky darkened. Qin Chen was running as quickly as he could, his clothes blowing backward in the wind. Maybe his mood changed. He felt like the chains that his family and environment had previously placed on him were loosening. Qin Chen ran faster and faster. Occasionally, other pedestrians on the bridge would gaze back at him. Everyone could feel that this boy was bringing an inexplicable youthful breeze, spontaneous and rich. Inrun Central Garden was a very well-thought-off neighborhood and known as a famous rich area in Luo City. Qin Chen was not surprised to learn that Huang Jixian, the son of a company executive, lived here. The security here was rather strict, and everyone had to swipe entry cards before entering. Qin Chen circled to the back of the neighborhood block, hoping to see if there was another way to slip in from there. However, before he could think of a way in, he noticed an organized group of 6 men in black suits heading out of a narrow road near the neighborhood's back gate. They were dressed extremely neatly. The 6 men walked at the same rate as if they had calculated exactly how far each of their steps should be. Hold up! Qin Chen suddenly noticed someone among the 6 men. It was a teenager. Huang Jixian. At this time, Huang Jixian looked like he was crazy, still muttering words like prisons, machinery, monsters. The group quickly boarded the 2 black SUVs parked next to the streets. One of the men seemed to have sensed something and looked toward where Qin Chen was standing. Qin Chen turned his head around immediately and pretended to play on his phone. The man didn't seem to care much about him, and before long, the 2 SUVs rushed away under the cover of night. In a daze, Qin Chen stood outside the neighborhood gate. He was still staring at his phone, unsure of what to do. Who were those people? Why was Huang Jixian being taken away? Was it because they know he's a transmigrator? It must be so. Qin Chen didn't believe in coincidences. He turned around and headed home. Along the way, he was still thinking about the men in black suits, but he soon realized that something wasn't right. A young man in a black sweater had been silently following him for 5 blocks. He seemed to have seen the person before. Instantly, Qin Chen felt his muscles tighten, the invisible pressure was undermining his sense of security. He was being hunted by a beast. He remembered this person standing not far away from him in the Central Garden district, looking down at a phone, but his finger never swiped the screen the entire time. Qin Chen couldn't analyze everything he saw every minute, it was too exhausting, but he was able to extract memories and look at them later when he needed them. Thinking of this, Qin Chen casually pretended to pick up a call and stopped where he was. Hey, I might be late for dinner again. He made sure that he hid his face under his cap so that the other person could not see. After Qin Chen stopped, the young man in a black sweater kept walking and passed by him without hesitation. Qin Chen looked at the person using his peripheral vision, but the person didn't turn back to take one extra glance at him. This made Qin Chen a little puzzled. Am I being too cautious? On the busy street, the man quickly disappeared from Qin Chen's line of sight. He put his phone away and continued to walk. He felt relieved that he had changed into a set of old shirts and pants before he came out. Otherwise, the other person could instantly tell that he was from Luo City Foreign Language School. Just as Qin Chen was calming his nerves, he noticed another familiar face in the crowd waiting to cross the street at the next traffic light at the intersection. It was another person that was at the entrance of the Central Garden neighborhood. It is not a coincidence. It is cross-tracking. Every person responsible to track down a target would only follow for a short distance so that they would not be found. If the target stopped at any point, the person would just walk away as nothing happened, and another team member would follow up quickly. It was one of the most sophisticated and secure methods of tracking. Qin Chen was very grateful for the seemingly useless books he read. He finally understood that when the person on the SUV looked at him, he was already being tracked. There were more than 6 of them who were there. Many more must be hiding in the corner. Is this a secret organization? They are so well trained. Why are they interested in transmigrators? Qin Chen had the uneasy feeling that he wasn't the first party of Earthlings to visit the other world. He could have been in the second or perhaps third group. Otherwise, even if someone learned about the transmigrators today, one couldn't make such organized acts by night. These people were prepared. The teenager's eyes narrowed. The jogger running toward him, the elder man selling candied haws on the sidewalk, the slender lady in high heels, and the light of the yellow street lamp beside him. He remembered every detail possible, knowing that he could not make any mistakes. 12 seconds left for the traffic light would change. The young man in black probably already took a detour to get behind him to be ready for the next cross. Tracking. According to his knowledge of the area, it would take a normal man at least 10 minutes to circle around Wang Chunman Street, Xinghe Road, and Kaiyuan Avenue at maximum speed. If he wanted to escape, now would be his chance. When the traffic signal turned green, someone on the opposite side of the street began to cross, but Qin Chen abruptly turned around and went away. The individual continued to cross the street in a casual manner, but he said in hushed tones, "The target stayed on the right side of the road." He turned around. "Are you in your position yet?" He seemed to be muttering to himself, but if anyone looked closely, one could see that there was a translucent earbud in his left ear. "No, I still need 2 minutes before getting there." The person whispering noticed that something was wrong. He tried to look for Qin Chen, but the target had long disappeared. "Damn it. Lost him," the person sighed. The young man with the black sweater, who was running wildly to get to his position, stopped and smiled. "What a shame. We can even track a boy down, and there's 2 of us. You're the one who wanted to track him in the first place. Do you think he discovered he was being followed?" the young man joked. "I'm confident he did. He's a seasoned genius," the voice in the earpiece said. The young man in the black sweater thought for a while and said, "The boy seems to be around 17 or 18 years old, maybe a high school student. If he truly found out that he was being tracked, his abilities must be beyond our imagination. Did you notice how calmly he faced the situation? I didn't even know that he noticed I was tracking him when he first started calling. If I had noticed, I would have taken him down at all costs. I'm very curious, why do you want to follow him so badly? We still have much more work ahead of us. There's no reason to waste so much time on a passerby. It isn't a risky move. During the escort of Target 009, I saw that he avoided making eye contact with the captain." Chapter 18. A mysterious organization. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Compared to his time in prison 18, Qin Chen felt that tonight's experience was far more like a true crisis. He had no idea who the gang was, nor did he know what their intentions were. The opposing party grew suspicious enough to employ such advanced talents to track him down simply because he took an extra glance. That experience wasn't very pleasant. He felt as if he was thrown out of his sheltered environment and was forced to face the real world's beasts for the first time. Or perhaps he was seeing the true face of this world for the first time. Outside, it was pitch black. Qin Chen strolled through the small park, hiding behind the large sycamore trees on the side of the road. The adrenaline-stimulated stress and his beating heart didn't calm down until he had walked for a long while. When he returned to his home on Xingshu Road, Qin Chen sat in the shadows for a half hour. After making sure there was no one tailing him, he finally went inside. Qin Chen's shirt was soaked in sweat, despite the cool and refreshing autumn breeze. As he entered his room, Qin Chen pulled out his phone and searched for He Xiaoxiao to see if the uploader gave any new tips to the inner world. To his surprise, He Xiaoxiao, who originally said that he would do another overview of the inner world, had disappeared. His comment section was exploding with fans wondering why he hasn't uploaded yet, but there was no response from He Xiaoxiao himself. Could it be that even this uploader was away by the mysterious organization? How many organizations exist in this country? Qin Chen could only guess. Suddenly, police sirens screamed to life outside his house, and a police car entered his neighborhood. Qin Chen frowned and followed its path from his window. The police car stopped at the door of his apartment unit, and he could hear a woman's cries and a man's screams on the second floor. By now, almost all his neighbors came out to see what happened, and Qin Chen hid inside the crowd. "What happened?" asked an elderly man. "Don't know you." "The man who lives here often abuses his wife," said an aunt while holding the baby in her hands. "The last time this happened, his wife had to be hospitalized for a few days due to the injury, and the man still didn't change his habits. Then, the woman requested a divorce but was beaten again, sigh. The man even said that he would kill everyone in the family if she asks for it again. So, today. Someone wondered, is it that the man beat up his wife again, right? But how come all I hear is the man's screams? You got that part right, said the aunt. I wanted to go up and stop the fight, but it turned out that this time the woman beat the man up. How on earth did that happen? Someone exclaimed, shocked. Ha, the man got drunk again and was about to beat his wife, but guess what? Did you hear about transmigrations? The woman got transmigrated. The old aunt was so excited when gossiping about others that she could even stop. The woman at first was being beaten, but then after a while, she just turned around and broke the man's leg. Pity that the little girl in their family had to see that. She's too young for all this. When Qin Chen heard this, he was relieved. To be honest, he didn't feel any sympathy for the man at all. In fact, he had to hold back his laughter. What is more pathetic than a husband beating his wife? The wife beating up the husband. The family of 3 lived upstairs to his apartment, so for the past 2 years, he would often come back from his night self-study classes and see the daughter of the family sitting on the floor in front of his house crying. The woman was about 30 years old and very beautiful. But it was because of this fact that her husband would beat her. When he got drunk, he became irrational and falsely assumed she cheated on him. Later, Qin Chen learned from the neighbors that the man would go home and beat her as long as he saw a woman talking to other men. Now he gets what he deserves. At this time, the police had already gone upstairs to examine the situation, and the man was carried into the ambulance crookedly. Qin Chen took a look and saw that both of the man's arms were bent into unnatural shapes and were broken. As the ambulance left, the police also started telling the crowd to go away. Qin Chen was about to go home, but as soon as he entered the hallway, he saw that the little girl was sitting in front of her house. Brother, my mom asked me to go to your house and stay there for a while, but when I knocked you weren't there, said the little girl while crying. The little girl's name was Li Tongyun, and this wasn't the first time that she came to Qin Chen's house to hide from her parents. Qin Chen was not a nosy person, but once when the couple quarreled upstairs, he saw the little girl was crying by herself in the hallway. At that time, Qin Chen had just returned from school and was about to just walk past. The woman came out and asked if Qin Chen could let her daughter stay in his house for a while. In the end, Qin Chen agreed. That night, he made soy sauce fried rice and played a cartoon on his phone for the girl. After all the arguments were settled upstairs, he sent the girl home. The woman upstairs would later find out about this, and so she would often tell the girl to go to Qin Chen's house to stay. The woman wanted to thank Qin Chen and repay him by washing his clothes, but Qin Chen refused, out of concern and fear that the man would not be happy about this. At that moment, Qin Chen bent down and patted the little girl's head while asking, "Have you eaten?" "I ate a few biscuits, but I'm still a little hungry," said Li Tongyun timidly. "Let's go, I haven't had much either. I'll make fried rice for you." Qin Chen spent almost all his money on preparing supplies, so even though he didn't have enough money, he had plenty of rice and other foods. "Your mom should get over it soon. Don't need to worry, your dad would not be able to beat your mom anymore." Li Tongyun suddenly said, "Will I still be able to come to your house?" "Of course." Just as Qin Chen was about to keep going, his expression instantly shifted and he hastily pulled Li Tongyun into his house. Li Tongyun looked at Qin Chen with a confused look. "What's wrong, brother?" She saw that Qin Chen quickly closed all the curtains around the house and was peeking through a tiny gap. "Nothing much, just be quiet," said Qin Chen in a hushed tone. As they spoke, an SUV pulled up in front of the apartment. It was one of the ones that he saw from the Inrun Central Garden tonight. They probably saw the news and came here to check. Qin Chen's heart skipped a beat. They moved here so quickly. He thought. At this time, two young men jumped out of the car, one wearing a black sweater and the other wearing a gray jacket. These were the same people that were tracking Qing Chen earlier that day. Qing Chen's heart started racing. He wondered if he was simply fated to meet them eventually. The next moment, the young man wearing a black sweater looked toward the window where he was peeking out from, and Qing Chen immediately stopped looking and stepped away from the window. "What's wrong?" asked one of them. The man in the black sweater smiled and said, "Nothing. I just felt like someone was looking at me. I'm probably worrying too much. Let's go upstairs." Qing Chen was a little worried about the woman upstairs. To be precise, he worried that if the woman upstairs was taken away, Li Tongyun would be left all alone, with no one to be with. Her dad was in the hospital and her mom taken away by a mysterious organization. 10 minutes passed, and Qing Chen still couldn't figure out what to do, yet the two young men had already come back down. He saw that the two simply got into the car and left, without taking Li Tongyun's mother away. What? Qing Chen was puzzled. Weren't they here to take the transmigrators away? Slowly, the police car also left, and there was a knock on the door of his house. Qing Chen went to open the door and saw Li Tongyun's mother standing outside. Her hair was a complete mess, her lips were cracked, and her face was covered in blood. The woman, seemingly realizing that her appearance was shocking, tried to smooth down her hair a little. She said quietly to Qing Chen, "I'm so sorry, I need to ask another favor." Chapter 19. Restricted from traveling. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Are you all right? Qing Chen asked, his gaze falling on the woman standing in front of his door. This was, in fact, the first time he saw her up close. Even though Qing Chen was only a high schooler, the two had constantly passed each other in a rush because the woman unconsciously wished to avoid other males because of her husband. It was probably due to the trauma from the abuse. Now that the woman's arm had turned into mechanical limbs, Qing Chen found that the parts on her arm seemed much more delicate than most of the prisoners in prison 18. If it weren't for the long sleeved shirt covering most of her arm would have looked even better. The woman's appearance, much to Qing Chen's amazement, lived up to her reputation. Although she had some subtle creases at the corners of her eyes, they just added to her demeanor. "I must have caused you problems again," the woman muttered, her face flushed with guilt as she stared at Qing Chen. "No, it wasn't a problem," said Qing Chen, "I was just about to make some fried rice for Li Tongyun. I like her very much." The woman nodded and said to Li Tongyun, "Let's go." Xiaoyun won Li Tongyun's informal nickname. Xiaoyun also means little cloud. "Come home with mommy." Li Tongyun said pitifully, "I'm still hungry. You broke apart the house already, and there's nothing there to eat." The woman became a little frustrated when she heard this. "Come on, don't be so obnoxious. We must return home." Qing Chen intervened, "I heard from Xiaoyun that you haven't eaten yet. Why don't you both come over to my place and we can have dinner together?" The woman and Li Tongyun both froze. Although Qing Chen had helped them before, he had never shown such enthusiasm. He had always seemed to be careful not to get into other people's business. "So, what should I call you?" Qing Chen explained, "I'm also really interested in transmigration." "My name is Jiang Shui," the woman said. "Well, I just want to ask Aunt Jiang Shui about the inner world," said Qing Chen. "Do you think you could tell me a little?" To be honest, Jiang Shui was only 12 years older than Qing Chen and it made him feel weird to call her aunt, which gave the impression that she was far older. But since he met Li Tongyun first, Qing Chen decided to go with aunt for the most respect. 2 In Chinese culture, one would often call people of similar age brothers or sisters to show a sense of welcome and closeness, while calling people a generation elder, aunts or uncles, and grandpa or grandma for the elderly. As a common rule, a middle-aged woman would rather be called sister instead of aunt because it makes them sound younger. "You may ask me about it whenever you want," Jiang Shui continued, "but for now, I think it's best if I go home." "Mom, Please let us eat at Brother Qing's house, Li Tongyan begged. Jiang Shui looked at Xiaoyan's pleading expression and sighed, fine, then I'm afraid that we must trouble you for a little longer. From beginning to end, this woman always looked shy, and Qin Chen could feel a sincere sense of guilt from her. Did she really survive the inner world with that character? Qin Chen suppressed his curiosity as he prepared the fried rice. After he was done and placed the rice on the table, he finally felt that it was appropriate to ask, I saw the police come to your house, what did they say? The neighbors helped me explain the situation. The police wanted to take me to the station for further questioning, but since I have Xiaoyun to take care of and it was obviously a legitimate defense, I was allowed to stay. They will call me over if they need information from me. After starting the conversation, Qin Chen finally asked the question he wanted to ask the most, hey, I saw two people who went up a little later. What are they here for? I'm not very sure either, Jiang Shui shook her head, they came to ask something from the police and asked me to fill out a form. They also took photos of my ID and left. Qin Chen was stunned, that's it. Oh, and they said they might contact me later, so they told me not to leave Luo City for now, but they didn't specify what they would want to contact me for, answered Jiang Shui. The police didn't care about them, asked Qin Chen, curiously. They appear to have shown some special ID to the cops, Jiang Shui remarked, but I have no idea what it is. Qin Chen now had a decent sense of who these individuals were. First and foremost, he realized the organization's purpose was not to abduct or harm transmigrators in any way. Next, the police were aware of and acknowledged the organization's existence. At the very least, the mystery men who were following him did not appear to be as menacing as they had been. This helped Qin Chen relax. Suddenly, Qin Chen asked, Aunt Jiang Shui, what role do you serve in the inner world? The term inner world quickly became the mainstream term for the world that people transmigrated into. By now, almost everyone was referring to the world by that name. Jiang Shui said, I apparently own a mechanical repair clinic in City 18, which is just a place that helps others to install and maintain mechanical parts, but after I got there, I knew nothing about mechanical limbs, so when people came to purchase items, I just told them that there weren't any supplies left. Qin Chen nodded, learning mechanics sure wasn't a task that could be learned in a day or two. Then your arms? He asked. It appeared as I got there, and I returned with it, said Jiang Shui. Qin Chen asked again, I saw that Prison 18 is mentioned on that transmigrator's video. Where is that place? It's on the edge of City 18, said Jiang Shui, and it is quite famous. It seems to be a place dedicated to detaining high-threat criminals. The most secure prison in the federal government. A federal government. Qin Chen hesitated, what else do you know, Aunt Jiang Shui? Not much else. I have only been there for 2 days and couldn't figure anything out, said Jiang Shui as she shook her head. Suddenly, Li Tongyan, who had been sitting beside them quietly, interrupted and asked, Mommy, what's the name of your clinic? It's called Jiang Shui Mechanical Limb Clinic, said Jiang Shui, what do you want to know that for? Nothing, I'm just curious, said Li Tongyan while scooping more rice into her bowl. Qin Chen remembered the name, but he still wasn't sure how to help the woman in the other world right now. If he wanted to help, it would have to be through Lu Guanyi or Li Shutong, but how could he justify the need to help Jiang Shui? He still didn't know how the people in the inner world would treat the transmigrators. If Jiang Shui's identity were exposed, it might also affect him greatly. He should wait as Jiang Shui did not appear to be in immediate danger. Why are you so interested in things in the inner world? Jiang Shui asked Qin Chen. I'm really hoping to be able to transmigrate one day and visit that mysterious world, said Qin Chen with a smile, I am quite envious of you transmigrators. Jiang Shui responded with a shake of her head, that world is very dangerous. Apart from members of the Li, Chen, Qing, Kana, and Kashima families, practically everyone else is living in an impossibly bad state. Qin Chen thought to himself, I'm one of the members of the Qing family, but I don't seem to be living well off. He asked, what are your next plans? I want to take Xiaoyun to live with her grandma in Jing City. We will leave tomorrow, and after everything is settled, I'll divorce Xiaoyun's dad. Jiang Shui said. Qin Chen suddenly thought of something, and then remembered, then you should hurry up and buy the tickets. There's been a lot of people traveling to Jing City recently, so it's quite hard to get tickets at the last minute. Qin Chen had made an excellent point, so Jiang Shui got out her phone and bought a ticket to Jing City. The payment was accepted, however, an error appeared on the digital ticket screen a short time later. The transaction did not go through. He was right. Qin Chen fell into deep thought. When he heard the mysterious group tell Jiang Shui she wasn't permitted to leave Luo City but didn't do anything about it, he assumed the group had other plans to keep her in the city. Perhaps that was why they took pictures of Jiang Shui's ID card. She had been restricted from traveling. Chapter 20. Transmigrators Group Chat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It appears we won't be able to leave the city, Jiang Shui finally said after failing to purchase both a plane and a train ticket. She was unable to obtain tickets outside of the city. This enigmatic organization certainly had a firm grip on every corner of this city. Qin Chen didn't want to be trapped here, so without knowing the other's intentions, he felt that it was better for him to stay hidden. Jiang Shui suddenly asked, "How come I haven't seen your parents in over 2 years, Qin Chen? Do you live alone in this house?" "They're divorced, and I'm left here alone," Qin Chen said with a nod. "So, Aunt Jiang Shui, what do you do for a living?" Jiang Shui didn't say much other than, "I'm an art teacher at the White Horse Elementary School nearby." Saying so, she stood up and collected the dishes on the table. "I'm going to wash the dishes, there's no need. You can just leave them there, and I'll wash it later," said Qin Chen. "No, you cooked for us already. How can I let you wash the dishes?" Disregarding Qin Chen's request, she stood up and headed to the kitchen. The little girl Li Tongyun suddenly leaned over and said in a low voice, "You've never looked at my mother with such concern before, brother. Tell me the truth, did you invite us in because she's particularly attractive today?" Qin Chen was speechless. "What's the matter with you, you think too much." "My mother is really beautiful," whispered Li Tongyun. Qin Chen couldn't help laughing in his heart. Is this what children nowadays think about? However, he was sure that he didn't approach Jiang Shui for her beauty. Rather, he needed the information that she had. He needed more information on the mysterious organization and the inner world. She then noticed the soiled clothing heaped up in Qin Chen's bathroom and carried them with her, saying, "You're living here by yourself, Qin Chen. It must be quite difficult. Bring all your dirty clothes to Auntie the next time, and I'll wash them for you. Come on Xiaoyun, it's time to return home. Brother Qin Chen still needs to work on his homework." "Wait, hold up. I can wash it myself." Before he could finish his sentence, Jiang Shui had already taken Li Tongyun away. Qin Chen stood in the room in a daze. He didn't realize that she would be so direct. He returned to the bedroom and lay back on his back slowly, thinking about his plans for the future. Qin Chen opened his WeChat notifications to 999 plus unread messages, all from his class group chat. Everyone was eagerly discussing the activities of the transmigrators. Even what occurred to Jiang Shui tonight became the topic of an after-dinner conversation in Luo City. She'd most likely hit the trending searches the next day. The word transmigrator had piqued the interest of students, workers, and even dignitaries. He glanced at the chat history in the class chat and noticed that whenever someone wanted to discuss the characteristics of the transmigrators, Nan Gengchen would pop up and say how these people must be true geniuses with high talents. Honestly, all Qin Chen wanted right now was for Nan Gengchen to appear in prison 18 with him. That way, he would no longer need to hide his identity. He thought to himself, it would be exciting to watch Nan Gengchen's reaction to this. Qin Chen opened the search engine and looked for He Xiaoxiao's video, but He Xiaoxiao's live stream was still left the way he last visited. He returned his gaze to WeChat, but his mother had not yet sent him a message. Just as he was about to go to bed, his phone rang. Caller ID, Mom. Qin Chen sat up to answer the phone. Hello. On the other side of the phone, Zhang Wanfang said, Xiao Chen, Mom has sent your living expenses for this month to your dad. She said so every month, but it had already been forever since Qin Chen last saw his living expenses. Mom, this week. Qin Chen wanted to say that he had to pay for the textbooks this week, but before he could finish, Zhang Wanfang interrupted, Hao has a fever, so I won't be able to come over to visit this weekend. Rest early and make sure you keep up in your classes. I know. Qin Chen said so and hung up right after. He finally got the call he had been waiting for, but his mom had long forgotten about him skipping class. But now, it didn't matter. At this moment. Qin Chen, are you there? Nen Gingchen sent him a message in the middle of the night. What's the matter? Asked Qin Chen. I found a group chat on the internet, and it's welcoming all transmigrators to join and discuss. Do you want to join? I can send you an invite code. Nan Gingchen said enthusiastically as if he was a transmigrator already. Qin Chen replied, we aren't transmigrators, so what are we joining for? No then, and it took a while for Nan Gingchen to respond, I just want to check it out. Maybe we will find some first-hand news. What if we transmigrate one day? This information could be helpful. I'll pass, you can just go ahead, said Qin Chen. For now, he wasn't interested in any transmigrators group chats. What if it was that mysterious organization's trap to lure all the possible transmigration into one place? Maybe the organization wasn't up to anything bad, but he didn't want to be caught. Probably only fools like Nan Gingchen would be up for such excitement. Alright then, I'll go in and have some fun, said Nan Gingchen. Then Nan Gingchen didn't send any more messages. After a while, when Qin Chen was a little sleepy, Nan Gingchen appeared again. Qin Chen. What's wrong? Asked Qin Chen helplessly. The owner of that group chat said he was a transmigrator, and he claimed to have brought back hundreds of pairs of high-tech socks from the inner world. It prevents odors and sweats and can make you walk as fast as flying. It can even extend your lifetime. Do you want a couple of pairs? Asked Nan Gingchen. Qin Chen. Out of anything, why socks? This scam is ridiculous. It is 100% taking advantage of the current news. He knew that this group chat of so-called transmigrators wasn't to be trusted, but he didn't expect them to pull such a blatant scam. Qin Chen asked, have you bought any? Nan Gingchen replied, I don't have any money. If I have money, maybe I can try a pair. Qin Chen tried to hold back for a long time, but he still typed, genius. Nan Gingchen disregarded Qin Chen's sarcasm and continued, there are even people who said they got some genetic medicine from the inner world. After taking it, you will instantly become the extraordinary. Well, what else did they say? There is also one that said he knew a couple of rich ladies over in the inner world and could recommend a few to us. What else did they say? Qin Chen was starting to understand. It's a gang of scammers. He even suspected that everyone in that chat except for Nan Gingchen was a scammer, and Nan Gingchen was the only idiot.